Okay, and welcome to Jeopardy Live Panel. This is Season 2, Episode 8. Our afternoon panel, a smaller panel right now. We are actually expecting more people to come in as we move along this afternoon. But for the moment, we just have three. Once again, I am Andy Saunders. If you have any questions for the panel, you can use hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel on Twitter. So feel free to do that if you want to leave any comments. But first up, introductions, the founder of the JeopardyFan.com, Jeannie Kenkel. Thanks for joining us again, Jeannie.
Glad to be here.
You sound a lot more excited than you normally do for these, I'm not going to lie. So,
I don't know why. I don't know. I guess I'm happy to see Laura, and we're going to have a good conversation.
Okay. and our other panelist at this point, we have Laura Ashby. She won Friday's episode, which means she's going to take a couple of weeks off as the champion because the Tournament of Champions begins next Monday. So that should be fun and exciting. Yes, it starts tomorrow. Yes. In fact, so a scheduling note: the Tournament of Champions preview episode. We will be going live with that at 8:30 this evening Eastern. We have a number of players from the tournament as well as last year's champion. Ben Ingram will be joining the panel to discuss what it takes to be a TOC winner, also to get some thoughts going into the tournament for the players. Don't worry, my line of questioning will not have spoilers at all, and our panel, yeah. So we've got Ben. Let's see, who else do we have? Just to check, we have Kristen Sauceville. We have Vaughn Winchell. Who else?
Oh, Vaughn's back, huh?
Vaughn's back. Carrie Green will be joining us. Sean Anderson, the alternate for the tournament. We're going to get some thoughts out of him, and a couple of others that I may attempt to last-minute wrangle into the group. So that should be fun and interesting. But yeah, let's start with Laura. Jeopardy champion. That's always a good feeling. I guess I'm going to just flat start out by asking you, what was the feeling when you, I guess, first realized, pretty much right after you won? How did that feel?
It was elation and exhaustion. Because, I'd been sitting there all day waiting to get my name drawn. And, yeah, the last show of the day, answer, and knew I'd wager. Realize it until Alex Trebek said, "Oh, you're the new Jeopardy champ," and after that, I was like, all the adrenaline kind of crashed. I'm like, that's amazing. But then the second thought was, oh no, I have to come back. I have to keep studying because I was on Friday and we took off a week of filming because of the Tournament of Champions. So I had a whole nother week where I felt I've got to keep studying. I can't just rest on my laurels now. So
yeah, good for you.
Yeah. And then we took the red eye, which was miserable.
Who did you have with you?
My husband came and my brother.
Oh, cool.
My brother's been great. He went with me to the audition. He came to everything. So it was nice to fly out.
Does he live in Marietta too?
Yeah, he lives in Atlanta. Okay. My whole family is kind of in Atlanta.
Good.
Nice.
So, yeah. So go ahead, Jeannie. Please go ahead, Jeannie.
I just wondered what you were doing to study. You said you had to keep studying in between.
Yes. So I don't know if it was the best way to study, but I knew from watching Jeopardy that my weaknesses were geography and presidents. Oh. So I got like those dummies books. It was reading Presidents for Dummies and was just always online playing geography games.
Oh, great.
And then playing the show every night. And it really, it in a way, it kind of ruined the show for me, because you're like having to, instead of just having fun watching it, you're watching it and practicing and, stressing about which ones you got wrong or right. So I had to take a breather afterwards before I could tune back into Jeopardy for fun.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So, while we were having that discussion, as you might have seen from the bottom, we had a fourth person join us. Another Jeopardy champion from this past week, Mike Barrett. Thanks for joining us, Mike. Glad you could make it.
Yeah.
And congratulations to both of you. It's that's almost too bad we didn't get Sadie to get all three contestants from Friday, but yeah. So Mike, I'm gonna. Well, I mean, I don't know if you heard my question to Laura, but I'm gonna ask you the same thing. What was the feeling when you kind of realized you were a Jeopardy champion?
I will echo her answer of elation. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I agree. It was elation. I think you don't really believe that it's true, even after, like, you know you made the right wager and you know that the math was right. It doesn't feel true until Alex finally says it. And even then, you're just like, this is what happens in a dream world. This isn't what happens in real life. Like, you're not actually the guy up on TV, or in worst case, the lady. It's the Jeopardy champion.
Wow, I can't imagine. That's cool.
I couldn't really either.
Yeah.
I felt the exact same way, Mike. So I'm glad to know that was a common feeling.
Yeah. And as soon as it happened, it was the fantasy aspect of it that got to me. Just that, like, I'm actually standing up here and this is real. I'm not waking up in 5 minutes. The alarm clock is not going to go off.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I know I kind of fantasized about that for a long time, but I've just missed my opportunity to hear the words too, so.
So yeah, I guess we can start on talking about your respective games a little bit. Mike, the text acronyms category. That's one thing that tends to get a lot of complaints from general viewership.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you saw
them in history?
Yeah. What was your response? What was your reaction when you saw that come up on in your categories on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that they would all be nonsense acronyms because every time I've ever seen the category, they're nothing. It's never BRB, LOL, and the clues are good enough that you can guess them if you're fast enough. Like, I think I got one of them, but yeah, when I came up, like, it's one of the ones I dread because you know that it's just the stuff making of acronyms.
Or clearly, my thought is they found some sort of weird source, and the source has these strange acronyms that nobody actually uses.
Yeah, isn't that weird? They're so uncommon. Yeah, nobody uses them.
I'm sure like one person has used each of them once.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably true. Just so they can say that it's actually an acronym.
Right.
Yeah. Or maybe it's an inside joke. The writers all text themselves using these acronyms,
right.
So they expect everyone else to know them.
Yes!
Right. I would believe that. I would believe it in a second.
So, do you want to, I guess, Laura, your late game daily double on Friday, a couple of clues before Sadie hit hers. Do you want to kind of walk us through your thought process on that one? And
yeah, I was a little nervous going into it because, like I said, geography was not one of my strong suits going in, and this was European landmarks. So when it came to wagering, when I was practicing for the show, I would talk to my husband and say, all right, if I'm going to wager on a daily double, I'm going to go all out. Do a true daily double or something close to it. And I was not, it was late enough in the game, and I was not brave enough or confident enough in the category. So, okay, well, I'll just do 3,000. That won't hurt me too much. And then when the clue came up, the first thing that popped in my head was one of those little clocks where you see all of the little knights and bears walking around. I think, the name itself, no clue what that was. But when they said, what I think it was knights and bears or something, that immediately had the picture in my mind. But I had to think for a little bit. I'm like, a cuckoo clock? No, I don't think there'd be a giant cuckoo clock. So then I went with clock tower, and luckily that was it. But it was one of those things where it was just lucky. They say it, and something pops in your mind. It was a guess, but it was one that I had sort of a vision coming in on me. So I lucked out on that.
Good. Did you study wagering when you were studying before the show?
Nothing serious. I mean, I dabbled a little in the blogs and saw all the game theory behind it, which I thought was fascinating. And I'll note, Mike, your wager on our game was brilliant. That was the exact game theory wager to make, I think.
So if we're talking about the final wager, which I love, he gave me a yellow score, which I just tweeted at him the other night. It was like more of a heartbreaking defeat than actually losing the game, because the green score is like when he approves of it, and the yellow's like, I almost approve of it. You were a little off.
By the way, I should point out we have another person who has managed to join us in on the panel at this point. J-Board moderator and the J-Archivist, David Kendall from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Thanks for joining us last minute here, Dave.
Oh.
And, so let's see here. Currently, basically, we've kind of discussed Laura, for Dave's perspective, we've already kind of discussed Laura's studying her last, how they felt about being champion, and Jeannie just asked what betting they studied.
Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah, I got the tail end of the final wager discussion. It's always good to see the aftermath of what you decide in the studio with all those lights and pressure, and then, of course, Keith is in his nice, comfy studio with all the time in the world to calculate.
That to me was the scariest part, was just doing the math. I think the producers were very nice, but I was always afraid they were on the edge of, Laura, you need to stop adding so many times. We've got to move on. But I that would have killed me if it was, you got it right and you screwed up the math.
Yeah, more of a concern for me. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead again.
Oh, well, I was going to say more of a concern for me was like the daily double wagering, because whereas they let you have a lot of money, or a lot of money too, but a lot of time at the end for Final Jeopardy, like you have a second to decide how much you're going to wager for Double Jeopardy. And most of the time, at least for me, I wasn't tracking all three scores throughout the game. So you kind of have to like look and just give it like a quick read based on your confidence level and where you are in the game. And there's a lot of things to factor in that when you're watching at home seems so much easier than when you're standing there and you're like, oh, this is actually maybe a $3,000 decision.
Yeah.
The daily doubles are so different because you don't have, despite what the contestant coordinators tell you during the break there, you don't have nearly as much time as you do there. And while there's been several places, not just Keith's blog, but several places that talk about the strategy and stuff within final wagering, daily doubles rarely get mentioned in there. And I haven't really seen a good resource to talk about how to wager for daily doubles, except for just wager4000.com, which seems to cover everything.
Just wager for. I mean, it seems so much of a gut decision. Mike, like you said,
Yeah.
I don't think I had seen the scores until I hit the daily double and looked up there. And you just go with a number that feels right at the time.
Right. I didn't notice until about halfway through our game how far ahead you were from me, and suddenly I was like, oh, what have I been doing? I need to catch up.
I wonder if that was part of my problem. I was kind of obsessed with the scores during the game. during my episode. But I never got a daily double, though, so didn't have to worry about it.
I got 2 and flubbed both.
Yeah, I was about to say, you went 0 for 2. Do you wish you'd gotten at least one of them, right?
Yeah. The Lord Byron one, the Gothic literature, that one killed me. Just because the Northwest Passage one, I should have spent more time thinking about because it was a really easy trap to fall in, and I feel dumb after the fact. But the Lord Byron was one that I should have known. Like, Gothic Lit is a category that might as well be written for me. And I knew every other answer, except for that one, of course, where the camera zooms in on me. It's like, Mike, say the dumbest thing you can.
I thought that was a hard one, though.
It was a hard one. I mean, I had never heard of the title. So I guess I can't brag too much about being good at Gothic Lit.
What was the category? It's not in the archive yet.
Gothic literature was the category.
Oh.
I didn't even remember that. So you see how quickly it disappears from people's minds.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was one of the things that surprised me about being on, is I forgot all the little details. I couldn't even remember. I was pretty sure I'd had a daily double. I didn't remember that I'd had 2. I did not remember what either of them, what the answers was. Like, I barely remembered any of the categories. And people were asking me about details, and I wasn't going to give them anyway. But, like, it made me realize that I didn't know them.
It's such a blur. If it makes you, and Mike, when we were watching our episode with my family, when your daily double came up, everyone said Northwest Passage. I would have said.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hard one too. You just got unlucky.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's just that, like, when the category came up and I realized that the answers were all directions, like, I started making a bank in my head. I was like, okay, Southwest Airlines is going to be in there, Northwest Passage is going to be in there, and then it came up, and then it was like, oh, this passage, and so I was like,
yeah.
Exactly the same here too. Yeah.
Oh, you got that wrong too, David?
Yeah. When he first said, "Oh, direction, Dutch guy traveling," and I said, "Oh, okay, Dutch guy would have to travel north," and then it said passage. Oh, well, passage, Northwest Passage, because like Mike, it was on my pre-call list too of questions that would be.
And if I'd spent even like an extra second being like Amsterdam, like Northwest Passage was North America, why is Amsterdam in this question? I might have rethought it, but probably not.
In full disclosure, though, I have heard of the Northeast Passage before, but it's not nearly as well known. So yeah, it wasn't in my mind then, and I should have known that Jeopardy might have at least thought to ask for it. But yeah, no,
that category killed me just because I truly don't know my left from my right. My husband will joke about it. I'll say, turn left. He's like, that's right. So when that came up, I mean, I was trying to buzz in, but I also had sort of checked out because when they had that one about the Indy dial, I'm like, no, I'm not trying to guess on this.
I mean, that's something good to say too when you're not quite sure about, if you're not 100% sure, maybe not buzz in. So that's always a good strategy to take.
Oh, yeah.
And no,
well, unless you're in second place, you need to catch up to Laura.
Yeah. No, Mike, your choice to cross your arms to signal.
Yeah.
I'm crossing them right now.
Yeah. You know what? I'm trying to think. There have been some other players who've done it, and did you pick it up from watching them, or was this something you just realized was comfortable?
No. So I had noticed that on Coriat's website he mentioned that he crossed his arms, but that was not something that I did to style myself after him. No, like I practiced so much at home watching episodes, and like I would stand up and I would like watch 5 in a row episodes just to get used to possibly standing there all day.
Right.
Because I'm sure that the fatigue gets to you. And one of the things that surprised me so much was like how quickly my thumb would wear out and like holding my hand up would wear out. And so I kind of naturally would cross my arms standing there just for fatigue reasons. I also think that it did make me a little like faster when I was practicing, just because your arm is already in kind of a like ready to click position. But it was not something I thought would get attention at all. Certainly not as much attention as it did.
It's so weird, the things that people pick up on. I mean, I thought, again, it was great, because I had read someone's blog in studying, I forget who it was, but they're like, you need to minimize the amount of movement you have so that you can try to get first. So that's a great way to do it. You're keeping it close to you, and I thought that was smart.
I should have tried that too, maybe.
I'm glad that I didn't go with the other comfortable position that I always ended up with was like at ease soldier position with my arms behind my back, which I'm sure would have looked especially obnoxious to all the viewers.
I tried that too. Yeah, that didn't work out for me. I didn't try it on the show, but beforehand I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I'd probably go through like about 6 or 7 positions because I'm not the kind of person who likes to keep still too.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I'll probably go, even if I'm only on there for one game, I'd probably only go through 6 or 7 positions.
So, not often I talk about the interview portion on here, but sounds like you had a couple. You kind of got Alex to enjoy the interviews with you, by the sounds of things. Michael, what do you think? Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, they were. It's in like a weird way because I had studied a bunch. I felt pretty confident in my trivia skills, and the thing I was most worried about was that those interviews would just bomb. And I wasn't sure that any of my facts were interesting or that the audience would care, because you see so many episodes where someone just has this 5-minute story about the time they found $1 on the road, and you're like, gosh, shut up. And I was sure that I was one of them. Marcus this week, that was one of his facts was that he's really, really afraid that that's going to happen to him.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. And so I was very surprised in a good way. I think Alex, one of the things he does not get enough credit for is that he can turn even those really awful stories into really enjoyable ones. He knows exactly the notes to hit to make the audience laugh. Like that thing I did in the first one where I was like, oh, no, I think you're still really important. They don't show it on the episode, but it's because he gave me this sour face. As soon as I said that I had thought he was important, he was just like... So he was clearly setting me up to react and be like, oh, God, no, I still think you're so important.
Well, I mean, Alex has been hosting game shows for probably over 40 years now. How many ordinary people has he seen and all that and gotten to talk to? I mean, the man is a pro at it because he's done it just so many times. So, yeah, the interview segment is as much a testament to the contestant coordinators who are really good at getting these stories out, the contestants who are good at telling them, and Alex's ability to react to them and make them feel important.
Right. The sex scene conversation on my second episode. There's no way that could have been scripted.
Oh, God.
That's great.
That was probably my favorite Jeopardy memory. It's just Alex.
And your response to that was perfect. Alex, my grandmother was...
Yeah. You don't know what your grandmother does.
Yeah.
That was great, Ben.
And all of my friends enjoyed that more than I could say.
Well, it sounds like the internet kind of enjoyed it too. But,
I have not heard back from my grandmother about
that's what I
that
was
specific
wondering.
part yet. No.
Okay, so my next question, because I suspect Michael might have to leave in a little bit. I think I heard in advance you might only have 30 or 40 minutes.
Yeah, I
So
could
I
probably
have
give
a
you another
couple
10 or
of
15.
Perfect. Okay. So, rapid fire for both Laura and Mike. This one, it's a standing question from Ben Ingram. What did you have for lunch?
Oh my gosh, the lunch question.
The lunch question. Of course, I'm going to ask the lunch question. What did you have for lunch?
I like the lunch question. I want to know what they ate too.
Today or at the studio?
At the studio.
Okay. Today was coffee.
Yeah, today was chocolate chip cookies and a cheese stick.
Yeah.
I think I just had a ham sandwich. I don't remember. No memory of it.
Yeah, I got the turkey sandwich and ate none of it.
Oh.
I mean, I picked at it, but I remember when we were when they had chosen the people for the third show, and so the rest of us realized we were going to be after lunch. We're like, yay, we got free lunch!
Yeah.
So that felt like an accomplishment.
Oh, it was a ham sandwich because I remember being really afraid. I ate it like this because I was so afraid that I was going to get mustard all over my tie.
Yeah.
Was that after you changed for your next game? So you were wearing your next game's clothes, or?
No, we were. I had not been on it all yet, so I was wearing.
Okay.
Which it was the same tie that I wore to the audition, and I got there like 10 minutes late, but they was starting super late, and so I was like, oh, thank God. And I ran there. I was so late, and so I was super exhausted. There was a water fountain, and I drank out of the water fountain, and when I stood up, I had just dripped water all over the tie, and it just looked like crap because it was splotchy and wet, and all the other contestants, or the prospectees or whatever, were all just watching me like, what a moron! You can't even drink water.
Oh.
That makes me feel a little bit better. I've told this before that I got to my audition just with 5 minutes to spare, and I thought, oh no, but
yeah.
And he came all the way from Canada too, you guys.
I drove 14 hours to get there. I mentioned that a few times, and the contestant coordinators just loved that.
Yeah.
So it sounds. But I mean, regardless, if they were all judging you, Mike, you had the last laugh. You're a Jeopardy champion.
Yes.
Exactly.
It would have been even better if instead of Laura, it was one of those people that got to go on and be like, not only am I going to beat you, but I'm going to tell the world that you couldn't drink water at a water fountain.
So yeah, where did you guys both audition, and I guess when? Just because I'm always curious to see how long people take to get the call.
Yeah, I'd like to know too.
Yeah, I auditioned in Savannah, and it was in April of this year, and then I got the call in August, second week of August.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the call in August. I auditioned in Boston, and I don't think I remember when it was. It was spring at least, and I can't imagine it was much later than that, but I don't remember a specific month offhand.
I know the test this year, the 2015 test, was rather late. Did
Very
you
late.
audition because of the 2015 test or the 2014 test?
Mine was 2014. I actually took the online test when I was pregnant and then had a kid, and he was like 6 months old when I got the email to come to the audition. And I had forgotten I had taken the test at that point.
I had taken mine 2015. My birthday is at the end of January, which is almost exactly when the test is, and it's been on my birthday in the past. And so I always spend a full day celebrating the Jeopardy test as my birthday present to myself. And it was 2 or 3 months late this year, and I was just so angry about it that when I took it, I was like, I better get on this year. They owe it to me.
So, my next question for everyone. Obviously the Tournament of Champions starts on Monday, tomorrow. Just for you two, who are your favorites in the field?
Yeah, I was trying to think of this earlier. I'll have to. I know. I've now seen some people on Facebook since I was on the show, and I think Kristen Sauceville is one of them. And then seeing her picture, I'm like, oh, I remember her on the show, which was really cool. So because she's one of the few that I remember, I will say her. And then the other guy that I remember, I think his name is Alex. He was from California, has dark hair, and won 6 or so shows. So I'll say him too, just again because that's the people I can remember. I actually never saw any of the Matt Jackson shows because it was right after we had filmed, and like I said, I had to take a break. I had done so much Jeopardy, and they had told us when we were filming our stuff, wow, this guy just won a bunch of shows. He was amazing. So I knew he was coming up. And I kind of knew he'd win a bunch, so I don't need to watch these.
You knew the result.
Yeah. Are you gonna watch the tournament?
Yeah.
Good.
Now I'm gonna have to turn back in. It's funny now that I being on the stage and getting to see some of these people now will be fun.
Yeah. Good. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, Laura said something earlier about just kind of exhaustion right after the fact. I didn't see any of the Matt episodes either, and I'm planning on it still, and so I expect he's also going to do very well in the tournament. But I can't wait until the Friday episode to see Alex go up against Michael, because they both seemed like really, really, really all-in players. Like, when they get daily doubles, they are going to take control of the game if they can. And so I just want to see both of those go head-to-head. I haven't seen any of the Brennan Bushy episodes either, but I've got kind of a funny Brennan Bushy story, is that he lives a town over from me, and when I went in to buy like ties and shirts for the show, the guy asked why I needed clothes, and I said, like, I want to be on Jeopardy. And he was like, that's so cool! And he called over another employee and was like, look, this guy's going to be on Jeopardy. And she was like, I went to high school with Brennan Bushy. He just won like 6 games in a row. I don't even care. And I was just like, all right, well, it's important to me. Sorry that your friend was cooler.
So, does that mean he's invited you to to watch the tournament at any of his viewing parties?
No, Kerry Green actually invited me on Twitter the other day, and so I might meet up with that crowd, but I have not met Brennan Bushy yet.
Okay. Very cool.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to announce now that Jeopardy Live panel may be live on location in Boston on November 17th. So, as I was also invited by Kerry Green, as you can see by the team.
Are you going to get as many Boston Jeopardites as possible there, and not just Kerry on the panel?
I'm not entirely sure. It'll all depend on who shows up. But basically, to be honest, there are really two things I'm hoping to get. One of which is a Vontourage hat.
Oh, yeah.
And the other, I'm also hoping to get an I Followed Mike Duvall button that Jennifer Morrow made up and had Kristen Sauceville distribute at the tournament this year to try to get.
I have not seen anybody wear all 3 of those at the same time. A Entourage hat, a Kerry Green shirt, and an I Follow Mike Duvall pin. I want to see a picture of you wearing all 3 of those.
So clearly that's got to happen. So if you're yeah, I will definitely. I'll bring that up at on our evening panel where I do the tournament preview. So yeah, somebody definitely needs to do that.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm going to ask David, Jeannie, do you have any questions? Because I mean, I've been dominating the questions at this point. So
yeah, I have a question, Mike.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. You are a cashier and writer. What is it that you write?
As I said on the second episode, mostly romance novels.
Okay.
Where can we purchase these romance novels?
They excuse my cat's ass.
Are they under a pseudonym, or do we look for your name?
They're under a pseudonym, yeah. So I don't know if anyone remembers from last year. One of my friends, he's the friend I mentioned in my interview. We both started writing together. He was a Jeopardy champion for 2 episodes in 2014.
Oh.
And so we're like the only 2 people, other than his wife, that know each other's pseudomos.
You mean he's the romance novelist that was on the show?
He was, yeah, John Campbell.
I remember that. Oh my gosh.
And the same thing happened to him, where as soon as he said it, suddenly there were all these tweets and like all these Facebook messages, and they're like, "What is his screen name? Like, we need to know his screen name."
Wow. Huh. We should
That's
do a panel, don't you think?
I could probably invite him.
Yeah.
I made him take the test
That'd
that
be
year.
so awesome.
And then so I made him take the test, and he went in and tried out. And when he told, I think it was Maggie, maybe Glenn at the time, I think it must have been Maggie, when he told the contesting coordinator like what he did, they were all like, "Oh my God, that's so cool! Like a young, like male romance writer. We've never had that before. Like we've got to put you on the show. Like this is so cool." And he came back and told me that, and I was just like, "You ruined everything."
Huh.
Okay, I had a question for both Laura and Mike. Mike kind of touched on it earlier. He was talking about his folded arm stance and how people were talking about it. That one. Did either of you really see much about what people are saying about you on Facebook and Twitter and all that lovely stuff after your show, or did you specifically, nope, I'm going on a social media hiatus for like 5 years?
I would say the social media hiatus might have been a good idea this week, but that's just me.
Yeah, my Facebook has all been really positive because it's my friends and my privacy. Yeah, my privacy controls are either good enough they can't find me, or people heard I was an attorney and don't want to harass me too much.
But going on other Facebook sites like Jeopardy's Facebook page, for example.
Oh, I haven't looked at that one yet. I may wait, but I did see my brother's.
Well, you might want to hold off on that.
Yeah, I'd avoid that.
Yeah.
But I did hear from my brother was telling me on Twitter, everyone talking about my voice. I'm like, that's kind of weird what people latch on to. I guess everyone hates their voice when they hear it.
Oh,
there was one person who sent, not a message to me, but said that Mike's throat sounds like it's coated in peanut butter. And I was like, I don't even know if that's an insult or just an observation. And all my friends were like, no, it's true. And I was like, what is it, good or bad?
What does it mean?
And then Sadie was live blogging, and she said about both of our last episodes that we both sound like we have stuffy noses, and I was like, oh God, do I just sound like that all the time to everyone?
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so. Yeah,
it's a cruel place. I mean, people like Eddie Timanis and Frank Spangenberg and all the old people, they had it so good.
Right. Yeah. I said this, I think to Alex Jacobs online, but the internet hate was honestly one of the things I was most excited for, because everyone has like no reason not to say what they think, and like my friends too on Facebook, they were all like, powerful stance, and like, ooh, love the way you were standing with your arms crossed, and naturally they were like the only people that had a positive opinion.
And it's so funny what people latch on to, and I guess I was actually kind of disappointed. I'm like, if you're going to say negative things, at least get me trending on Twitter. Like,
I think you did in certain cities, to be fair. People pointed out that, like, Jeopardy Laura was a trending phrase in certain cities.
Please. I should have gotten screenshots of that. That'd be great.
I heard Philadelphia was one. And then when I don't know if you guys saw the Twitter I was using to retweet all my haters, but so I was searching the Jeopardy hashtag constantly, and it got to the point that if I put in Jeopardy Laura was the suggested phrase, and I was like, that rules.
Yes, okay. That makes me feel a lot better. See, I'm kind of out of it social media wise, but my brother was like, just don't go on Twitter. He was being very protective. He was sweet. He's like, don't go on Twitter. And I saw a couple of things. I'm like, if that's the worst, then maybe I don't want to know what the worst is.
But yes, it was definitely an interesting week to be
yes,
to be an observer of the underbelly known as internet hate this week. I'm kind of looking forward to the Tournament of Champions for that, because there's usually a lot less hate going around and a lot more awesomeness towards the contestants. So
I mean, the people that people didn't like during their first one who qualified for the Tournament of Champions, like for example Matt, they attracted a lot of detractors for whatever reason, and so I'm sure they're gonna pick up again.
Well, we'll see what happens, and I think you might see people cheering for his opponents a little more, but
Well, that's good, I guess.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions for anyone else on the panel at this point?
I don't
And
know.
I'll probably be by in a minute or two.
Perfect. So so in that case, I'd like to thank David for joining us in last minute, Jeannie,
Yes,
Laura,
thanks,
and
David.
Mike. Yeah, that was a lot of fun there. So thanks for joining us. For those of you tuning in, thanks for joining us on this panel. I'm going to be back in 3 hours and 19 minutes discussing the upcoming Tournament of Champions. So you'll want to tune in for that. We've got Kristen, we've got Vaughn, we've got Carrie, we've got defending champion Ben Ingram, we've got possibly a couple of more. Oh yes, of course, the alternate Sean Anderson. A couple more as well that I will probably try to get in the last minute. So
oh my goodness.
so that's going to be a fun panel. Make sure you want to tune in for that. So for everyone here at the JeopardyFan.com, Jeannie, myself, thanks for tuning in. Have a great afternoon. See you in a few hours.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right.